What if I told you that most of what we've learned about the history of the Americas is incomplete? It's not that our history books are filled with lies, but rather, they're defined by what they leave out. The silent fragments of history, the evidence that's been ignored, and the mysteries that have been swept under the rug. For centuries, we've been taught a very specific story. Ancient America was a vast, untamed wilderness, a primitive land waiting for European explorers to bring civilization. But what if that narrative is just the tip of the iceberg? Imagine for a moment that the civilizations that once thrived here were far more advanced than we've ever been led to believe. What if they possessed a deep understanding of astronomy, engineering, and mathematics that rivaled, or even surpassed, that of the Old World? We see hints of this in the colossal pyramids, the perfectly aligned cities, and the intricate artifacts left behind. These aren't the relics of simple societies. They're the legacy of powerful, sophisticated cultures with complex social structures and technologies we are still struggling to understand. Is it possible that the version of history we've accepted as fact is just one chapter in a much larger, more incredible story? A story that has been deliberately hidden or simply lost to time. The conventional timeline suggests a slow, linear progression of human development in the Americas. But mounting evidence challenges this idea, pointing to a past that is far older and far more complex. We are talking about evidence of advanced societies existing thousands of years before they were supposed to. Think about it. We are constantly discovering new sites and re-evaluating old ones, and each discovery pushes back the timeline of human presence and complexity in the Americas. So, the real question isn't just about what happened, but about what we've been missing. What other secrets are buried beneath the soil, waiting to rewrite everything we thought we knew? Join me as we explore these forgotten histories and uncover the truth about the ancient Americas. Even timelines once considered immutable, like the theory that Homo sapiens first entered the Americas approximately 13,000 years ago through the Bering Land Bridge, are beginning to show signs of strain. Unusual archaeological discoveries buried deep in the soil of South America, forgotten stone ruins concealed within the Amazon rainforest, and desert landscapes in Mexico are yielding fossilized footprints, stone implements, and ancient architecture. These findings suggest a level of societal organization far more advanced than classical history has ever acknowledged. These discoveries do more than just contest the established dates. We are starting to uncover indications of lost prehistoric civilizations that disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only silent ruins and enduring questions. The chronicle of ancient America did not commence with the Maya, the Inca, or the Aztec. It may stretch back much further, far beyond the timeline sanctioned by traditional archaeology. It could have been molded by nameless cultures, buried by the passage of time, consumed by jungles and deserts, and systematically erased by ideology. From cities now reclaimed by the Amazon to pyramids obscured by desert dunes, from enigmatic symbols carved into rock to vast subterranean networks, we are left with faint whispers from the past. They quietly challenge us, asking, how much do we genuinely understand about the history of the Americas? With that, History Relic invites you into a narrative that continues to evolve, a realm where historical truth is not simply presented to you, but is something you must actively pursue. The crucial question, then, is whether you are prepared to view the Americas through an entirely new lens. Not the version taught in classrooms, but the one you were never permitted to believe could be real. If the bulk of our beliefs about ancient American history is constructed upon so-called official timelines, then it is the unforeseen discoveries, those that do not neatly align, that are quietly undermining the very foundations of that illusion. A truth we can no longer afford to ignore is emerging. The supposed anomalies, the artifacts that contradict the accepted timeline, are becoming the most powerful evidence that the past was significantly more intricate than we imagined. From the deepest layers of the Earth to towering rock formations, researchers persistently uncover objects whose ages directly conflict with the history we have been taught. Each of these findings feels like a gentle yet firm knock on the door of denial, compelling us to ask, is the past starting to unveil a different version of itself, one that has long been concealed? Consider Monteverde in Chile, an archaeological site that sent tremors through the academic community in the late 20th century. There, scientists unearthed proof of a settlement dating back more than 18,000 years, a full 5,000 years earlier than the widely accepted Bering Strait migration theory. And this was not merely a few scattered fire pits or stone tools. They discovered remnants of dwellings, food sources, and even twisted plant fibers used for securing materials, all clear indicators of a developed, sedentary way of life. Monteverde did more than just break the timeline. It posed more profound questions. If people were inhabiting a location so far south in the Americas at such an early date, how did they arrive there? What was their route? And for how long had they been on the continent before that point? Then there is Pedra Ferreira in Brazil, where archaeologists have discovered stone flakes that numerous independent researchers are convinced were fashioned by human hands. The complication is that some of these implements date back as far as 32,000 years. In fact, a number of these samples were rejected outright, not due to a lack of supporting evidence, but simply because their age was considered too extreme to be plausible. That dismissal was not rooted in weak data, but in a rigid mindset, the belief that humans could not possibly have been in the Americas that far in the past. But isn't genuine science meant to follow the evidence, even when it challenges our existing theories? And then we have the footprints, arguably the most unequivocal sign of an early human presence. At White Sands, New Mexico, researchers found hundreds of fossilized human footprints, dated through radiocarbon testing to between 21,000 and 23,000 years ago. These prints are preserved in ancient sediment, directly alongside the tracks of Ice Age megafauna like mammoths and giant ground sloths. This is not just a single, isolated print. It is a trail, a sequence of human movement, like a group journeying across soft ground, only to be entombed by time and now gradually re-emerging into the light. If we are willing to examine these findings without prejudice, they compel us to rewrite the introductory chapter of human history in the Americas. We must not only revise the date of arrival, but also reconsider the capabilities of these early peoples. How were they structured socially? How did they navigate such vast distances? And is it plausible that they belonged to civilizations of which we have no record? Artifacts such as spear tips, pottery fragments, and even metal tools have been discovered buried at depths that do not correspond to any known period of confirmed civilization. Frequently, these objects are not dismissed due to a lack of evidence. They are set aside because they are simply too inconvenient to explain within the framework of traditional models. History, much like a river, invariably finds a way to overcome the barriers of old assumptions. And those silent objects, interred in the earth, locked within stone, or hidden deep in the forest, are slowly guiding the current back to its true course. But to perceive it, we must have the courage to redraw the entire mental map we have relied upon for so long. Because if the timeline was already incorrect at its very origin, then how much else about the history of ancient America can we genuinely claim is accurate? And that is merely the surface. If we continue to dig, not just into the ground but into our collective memory, we will find that even the methods we depend on to date the past, such as radiocarbon dating, are filled with their own unresolved questions. From there, a new stratum of mystery starts to unfold, one that guides us into the subsequent chapter, the secrets behind carbon dating and the controversies that persist around it today. At White Sands, New Mexico, hundreds of ancient human footprints lie preserved in the Ice Age soil, layered alongside the tracks of mammoths, giant ground sloths, and extinct avians. What astonished researchers was not just the prints themselves, but the narrative they appeared to convey. Children running, adults carrying toddlers. Footsteps pressed deeply into the ground as if people were moving with purpose, traversing wet terrain thousands of years ago. Radiocarbon testing of the seed layers situated above and below the footprints dated them to a period between 21,000 and 23,000 years ago, a figure that shatters every preceding theory about when humans first set foot in the Americas. And it is not an isolated case. In Nevada's renowned Lovelock Cave, archaeologists unearthed stone tools, leather footwear, and other signs of daily existence. Some of these artifacts are potentially over 10,000 years old. Early reports once made mention of human bones with unusually shaped skulls, but those samples have mysteriously vanished from public records without any explanation. Some have even posited that a race of giants once inhabited the area, though that notion was swiftly categorized as native legend and dismissed. Nevertheless, the presence of intricately woven baskets, obsidian arrowheads, and well-fashioned blades points to a level of technical proficiency that is difficult to disregard. Then there is the Topper in South Carolina, where tools were discovered buried much deeper than the Clovis layer. The Clovis culture, dating back approximately 13,000 years, was long considered to represent the earliest inhabitants of the Americas. But if the tools from the deeper layer were indeed made by human hands, it could imply that pre-Clovis peoples were living there between 16,000 and 20,000 years ago, perhaps even earlier. However, instead of being hailed as a scientific breakthrough, these discoveries were met with skepticism, resistance, and even outright rejection, simply because they did not conform to the existing framework. At the Gault site in Texas, a location once believed to contain only Clovis-era tools, recent investigations have uncovered an even more ancient cultural layer beneath. There, researchers found stone tools crafted with unique and refined techniques, possibly dating back over 20,000 years. Among them were slender blades, scrapers, and meticulously shaped fluted points, evidence of a degree of craftsmanship and organization that challenges the notion of early humans as merely primitive hunters. These traces cannot be simply brushed aside as coincidence or error. They exist in their form, their structure, and their silent message. Ancient humans were here far earlier than we believed. And perhaps they were not just isolated bands of survivors, but part of organized communities with social order, technology, and even their own belief systems. Stone tools, remnants of dwellings, fire pits, and even carved pillars bearing geometric symbols all suggest that abstract thought, the very essence of civilization, was not something that developed late. It may have been present all along. So, what became of those foundations? Were they obliterated by a natural catastrophe, such as a great flood or a climate shift, or were they simply consumed by time and buried under layers of oblivion? Or, more disturbingly, were they deliberately erased, expunged from history because acknowledging a past so remote and unfamiliar would threaten to collapse the entire structure of what we thought we knew? Whatever the explanation, what still lies beneath the ground, the faint footprints, the sharp tools, the quiet layers of ash, continues to whisper a single truth: the past does not rest. And if we are courageous enough to dig deeper, not just with shovels but with sincere curiosity, we may draw closer to discovering civilizations that are yet to be named. From that point, the narrative begins to pivot toward one of the first true cities of ancient America, Carroll, a place that may resonate with the very first indications of a civilization that once shone brightly in the darkness of prehistory. In the arid, sun-scorched lands of the Shoup Valley, just north of Lima, Peru, lies a site that does not conform to our conventional sense of time. Carroll, an ancient city constructed over 5,000 years ago, astounded the archaeological world when it was discovered and verified as one of the oldest known urban settlements not just in the Americas, but on the entire planet. While the Egyptians were starting to build their pyramids and the Sumerians were first developing writing, the people of Carroll were already erecting a massive stone metropolis complete with complex architecture, stepped pyramids, central plazas, and a remarkably organized society. There is no evidence of warfare, no fortifications, no armaments. Instead, archaeologists discovered musical instruments, indications of trade, and structures that reflect a culture centered on harmony, knowledge, and peace. The Olmec left no written chronicles, no carved timelines. But they did leave something more potent: colossal stone heads, weighing tens of tons, sculpted into majestic faces, serene, remote, and uncannily unfamiliar. Some scholars believe these heads depict rulers. Others theorize they are gods. And still others propose they might be portraits of people from elsewhere, perhaps even from across the ocean. Whatever the reality may be, one thing is certain: the Olmec possessed the capability to quarry, transport, and sculpt massive basalt boulders, some weighing up to 50 tons, from sources dozens of miles away, all without the wheel, without draft animals, and without metal tools. This is not merely a question of technology. It is a question of organization, vision, and a mindset that far surpassed the limitations of their era. But sculpture was only one facet of their culture. The Olmec established the cultural foundation for later Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Maya and the Aztec. From early symbolic writing and ritual sacrifice to the very structure of their theocratic societies, their influence is undeniable. Ancient stone carvings like La Venta Stela III or the Cascajal block contain markings that may represent the earliest known form of writing in the Americas. If that is correct, then the Olmec were not just the mother culture, they were the first storytellers, recording consciousness in symbols and preserving memory in abstract language. What is even more striking is the deeply symbolic, cosmological worldview embedded in their society. Many of their structures are aligned with celestial axes, pointing towards solstices or other astronomical events. Their belief system revolved around the feathered serpent, the jaguar deity, and powerful gods connected to water and fertility, symbols that endured for centuries across later cultures, almost as if the Olmec had established a sacred framework that shaped all of Mesoamerica. Within their pyramids of packed earth and stone, archaeologists uncovered small figurines displaying unnatural, almost alien human characteristics, elongated skulls, stretched arms and eyes, and tiny mouths, figures that appeared deliberately removed from ordinary human representation. Their economic and social organization was equally advanced. Extensive canal networks, engineered levees, storage complexes, and long ceremonial roadways linked major centers such as San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes. These locations were not simply settlements, they functioned as spiritual nexuses and cosmic focal points. This raises a profound question: who taught them these systems? How did such complex hierarchies and infrastructure emerge when nearby regions still lived primarily nomadic lives? One possible explanation points to something now missing: a forgotten origin, a memory erased by time. Some contemporary researchers argue that the Olmec were not the beginning, but rather the final reverberation of a far older sequence of civilizations, now mostly erased, leaving behind only fragments. The colossal stone heads, with their faces that seem impossible to categorize, may represent those original figures, the ones who ignited the spark and then vanished into myth, leaving behind descendants and distorted echoes. Others note striking parallels between Olmec astronomical knowledge and ancient traditions from the Eastern world, suggesting the possibility of transoceanic contact long before Columbus. While traditional archaeology labels this idea fringe, circumstantial clues continue to accumulate quietly. Whatever the truth may be, the Olmec remain a challenge to history. There is no confirmed name, no preserved written record, and no clear successor civilization, yet their influence flows forward through millennia like an unnamed instructor who left behind a complete curriculum without ever signing it. Standing before the colossal heads, it is difficult to escape the sense that something once existed, something greater, something conscious, something fully aware of itself, yet deliberately choosing to withdraw into the shadows of history. One symbol remains undeniable: the massive stone faces themselves, silent and unmoving. Perhaps they hold the answer to the true beginnings of a civilization that once illuminated the prehistoric Americas. They remain there, motionless and watchful in the humid jungles of Mesoamerica, eternal witnesses to a time that departed without farewell. 20 colossal basalt heads, each ranging from 5 to nearly 10 feet tall and weighing an average of over 20 tons, some exceeding 50. Form the most iconic legacy of the Olmec civilization and one of the greatest archaeological enigmas in the Americas. Their impact goes beyond sheer size or weight. What truly unsettles observers is what they signify. Faces unlike any known indigenous group, carved with extraordinary realism and emotional depth, blur the boundary between ancient sculpture and something far more profound. Discovered at ceremonial centers such as San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes, these heads radiate an unmistakable presence: wide jaws, broad noses, thick lips, and eyes that seem to look directly through time itself. Some scholars propose they are likenesses of revered rulers, immortalized in stone to preserve authority beyond death. Yet this interpretation raises new questions. Why were they buried? Why were many intentionally placed face down in the earth, as if part of a ritual meant to return them to the land? One compelling hypothesis advanced by independent researchers suggests these heads represent more than individual leaders. They may symbolize an entire people who once existed, possibly the true originators of Olmec civilization. The facial features, often described as bearing distinctly African characteristics, have led to speculation about ancient transoceanic contact from Africa or other distant regions thousands of years before European arrival. Mainstream archaeology continues to reject this theory due to insufficient evidence. Yet when standing before these stone giants, that rejection can feel less like scientific caution and more like discomfort with where logic and intuition might lead. Some interpretations go further, proposing that the heads are materialized memory, created not only to honor the past, but to preserve knowledge, a message intended for the future, marking that something extraordinary once took place. If so, these sculptures are not merely monuments. They function as spiritual markers, comparable to the Moai of Easter Island or the stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe. They were not constructed for habitation or defense, but to communicate meaning beyond words. Still unanswered is the question of how the Olmec transported and carved such massive stones when basalt quarries lay miles away across swampy terrain, without wheels, draft animals, metal tools, pulleys, or cranes. One theory suggests the stones were floated along rivers on wooden rafts, yet this fails to explain how they were moved down from mountainous regions or erected upright with such precision. Could they have possessed technical knowledge now lost? Or were they assisted by others? Some heads display unusual markings, possible hieroglyphs, astronomical symbols, or swirling motifs that later appear in Maya culture. This raises the possibility that the Olmec were not only material ancestors, but the symbolic foundation of all Central American visual language. And if these heads formed a kind of stone archive, perhaps their placement, orientation, and surrounding rituals contain information we have yet to decode. One detail stands out above all else. No two heads are identical. Each displays unique facial expressions, dimensions, and headdresses. This strengthens the idea that they depict real individuals, but it may also indicate a coded system denoting rank, spiritual function, or even ethnic identity. Perhaps these sculptures served as stone identity markers of a forgotten people, lost to history, but not to memory. Like all enduring mysteries, the Olmec heads offer no definitive answers. They simply remain, silent, immovable, and watching, inviting us to question whether the story of civilization is far older, deeper, and stranger than we have been taught. They are faces from a distant age, yet they also act as a reflection of our own uncertainty, a reminder that modern science still lacks the complete language needed to interpret what ancient peoples left behind. And when we finally look away from those stone eyes, what remains is not clarity, but a lingering sensation that we have brushed against something undeniably real, something known once, then forgotten for far too long. If the metaphysical carvings of the Olmec continue to leave researchers divided between curiosity and skepticism, then what endures at Tiwanaku, resting silently beside Lake Titicaca at nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, pushes the mystery even further. Tiwanaku is not merely an ancient ruin. It is often described as the spiritual birthplace of Andean civilization, a place where enormous stone blocks were assembled with such astonishing precision that even modern engineers struggle to explain the process. Each stone appears as though it were precast, shaped, and fitted with a level of accuracy that resembles laser cutting, a technology that official history insists did not exist in prehistoric times. The stones of Tiwanaku are not only immense, they are intricately carved, deeply notched, and tightly interlocked with such exactness that contemporary specialists still debate how it could have been achieved. Blocks of andesite and diorite, stones harder than steel, were joined together without mortar, without visible gaps, yet have remained stable for thousands of years. At Puma Punku, a strange and unsettling extension of the main complex, enormous H-shaped stones appear machined with near-mechanical precision. Perfectly round bore holes, razor-sharp corners, and flawless right angles give the impression of modern industrial production rather than ancient hand tools. How did a prehistoric society, without wheels, without metal, without rotary instruments, manipulate stone with this degree of accuracy? The conventional explanations are often vague: extraordinary skill, immense labor, or vast amounts of time. But anyone who has stood before these stones senses that craftsmanship alone is not the answer. What is evident is a different mode of thinking, a different technological approach, and perhaps an entirely different intention. These structures were not built simply for shelter. They were designed with purpose, astronomical, spiritual, and possibly something that extends beyond conventional understanding. Many structures at Tiwanaku align precisely with cardinal directions and solar solstices. Ceremonial platforms such as Kalasasaya functioned as enormous solar calendars, where the shadows of stone pillars fell exactly on significant dates throughout the year. This reveals that the builders were not casual observers of the sky. They possessed a profound understanding of celestial motion. For a prehistoric culture living in a harsh high-altitude environment to construct architecture in precise harmony with the cosmos suggests intention, not coincidence. Yet the mystery deepens. Some theories propose that Tiwanaku may once have functioned as a port city, complete with stone docks showing signs of water erosion. Today, the shoreline of Lake Titicaca lies miles away, and the region's elevation has shifted dramatically. If these interpretations are accurate, then either the landscape has undergone massive geological change or Tiwanaku was constructed far earlier than accepted history allows, possibly before the end of the last ice age. Independent researchers using geological and astronomical data have suggested dates as early as 15,000 years ago or more. Mainstream archaeology firmly rejects these conclusions, yet Tiwanaku stubbornly refuses to conform to the standard 1,500-year timeline presented in textbooks. The most unsettling question then emerges. If Tiwanaku truly is that ancient, who built it? The Tiwanaku people themselves, or inhabitants who inherited and repurposed the ruins of a civilization already lost? This pattern appears repeatedly throughout history. The Maya built upon El Mirador, the Inca upon Sacsayhuaman, the Greeks upon Knossos. In each case, later cultures laid their beliefs over older foundations, obscuring origins beneath new meaning. They are thought forms, encoded expressions of a lost worldview, possibly preserving knowledge of materials, resonance, sound, solar energy, and the harmony between structure and sky. To stand in Tiwanaku is not simply to visit an ancient city. It is to enter a prehistoric archive written in stone rather than words. If Tiwanaku represents a civilization's bold declaration of cosmic order and social knowledge, then Puma Punku is its unsettling whisper, a quiet reminder of a technology that once existed and then vanished. Located only a few hundred meters from the main complex, the site is not enormous, nor is it ornamented with towering monuments. Yet it leaves engineers, archaeologists, and skeptics alike standing in stunned silence, asking the same question: who built this, and how? Puma Punku, meaning Gate of the Puma or Lioness Gate in Aymara, is a field of shattered basalt and diorite blocks scattered across the Andean plateau, many appearing as though they were destroyed by a massive catastrophe. What makes the site extraordinary is not merely the size of the stones, but the way they were shaped. These are not rough, unfinished rocks. They are precise geometric forms with immaculate right angles, mirror-flat surfaces, perfectly centered boreholes, and grooves so exact they fit together like components of an ancient modular system. From the impossible engineering of Puma Punku, history carries us forward to the monumental legacy of the Maya. Vast pyramids, cities swallowed by jungle, and above all, El Mirador. Once a mighty capital, it lay forgotten for millennia, not where the Maya story began, but where it was reborn. Hidden deep within the peat jungle of northern Guatemala, where the canopy grows so dense that sunlight barely reaches the forest floor, lies a city that once dominated the ancient Maya world. A city erased so completely that no surviving myth, legend, or historical memory preserved its name. El Mirador, the lookout, was not rediscovered through ancient texts, but through the revelation of massive stone foundations concealed beneath the jungle. Without satellite imagery and modern LiDAR scanning, its existence might still be unknown. El Mirador was not merely large, it was imperial in scale. From the 6th century BCE to the 1st century CE, nearly 1,000 years before sites like Tikal or Copan rose to prominence, El Mirador stood at the center of a vast network of urban centers connected by immense causeways known as Sac-Biob, stretching for miles through dense rainforest. At its heart rose colossal limestone pyramids, none more imposing than La Dantar, the largest pyramid in ancient America by volume. surpassing even the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan and Egypt's Great Pyramid of Khufu. What makes El Mirador so enigmatic is not only its size, but its timing. While much of Mesoamerica was still in early settlement phases, El Mirador already displayed a fully developed urban plan. Ceremonial axes, residential districts, central plazas, water reservoirs, and advanced water management systems. Builders employed a construction method combining lime and soil to prevent foundation collapse, perfectly adapted to the tropical environment and durable enough to last for millennia. This reveals advanced geological understanding, hydraulic planning, and labor organization far beyond what scholars once attributed to the pre-classic Maya. Yet El Mirador vanished from memory. No oral traditions recall it. No later inscriptions mention it. An empire that ruled over vast populations and raised monumental architecture simply disappeared, as though it had never existed. Was this the result of deep cultural trauma? Or did its collapse happen so rapidly that no one remained to remember? Some studies suggest El Mirador fell victim to its own success. The intense burning of limestone for construction may have devastated surrounding forests, leading to soil erosion, water shortages, and eventual social collapse. Even so, the people of El Mirador emerge as master planners, astronomers, and administrators of immense complexity. Today, when archaeologists walk along the ancient Sac Biob, now hidden beneath tangled roots, they see not just ruins, but the blueprint of a civilization pushed to its limits. El Mirador becomes more than a lost city. It becomes a warning, not only of what ancient societies could build, but of what they could lose when ambition outpaced sustainability. And perhaps most importantly, El Mirador was not alone. Many of the mythic symbols, architectural motifs, and ceremonial traditions found at this site later surfaced across other major Maya centers such as Tikal, Calakmul, and Palenque. This continuity suggests that even though the empire itself fell, its ideas did not vanish. Instead, they endured, carried forward like a glowing ember passed quietly from generation to generation, never extinguished, only transformed. Perhaps El Mirador did not truly disappear. Perhaps it simply changed its expression, surviving within the cultural DNA of the civilizations that followed. When we examine the bas-reliefs carved with feathered serpents, heroic twins, jaguar deities, and the earliest recognizable forms of Kukulkan at El Mirador, it becomes clear these images were not sudden inventions. They were cultivated from an older symbolic lineage, inherited and refined by later classic Maya culture. To understand this inheritance, we must descend into the core of Maya writing and timekeeping, a system so intricate that scholars continue decoding it glyph by glyph, symbol by symbol, as though peeling back layers of a universe encoded in time itself. Embedded within the carved stone and fading reliefs of Maya temples lies something even more valuable than pyramids or cities: a language of time. The Maya did not merely leave ruins behind. They left one of the most sophisticated writing systems and calendar mechanisms ever conceived. Their hieroglyphic script was so complex that it took modern researchers decades to decipher even its foundational principles. Their layered calendrical system, astonishingly precise, rivals and in some respects exceeds the accuracy of the modern Gregorian calendar. This reveals that the Maya were not only architects and ritual specialists, but abstract thinkers, mathematicians, and custodians of cosmic rhythm. Yet a profound question remains unanswered. Who first shaped this symbolic system, encoding the structure of the universe into written form? Maya glyphs bear no close resemblance to other writing traditions in the Americas. They are not purely phonetic. Each glyph can carry layered meaning, visual symbolism, historical reference, and metaphysical significance simultaneously. Strikingly, some of these glyphs appear highly sophisticated from their earliest known examples. They do not show a slow, gradual evolution. Instead, they emerge as if already complete. This has led researchers to ask whether the Maya truly invented this system independently, or whether it was inherited from an earlier culture such as El Mirador, or even the Olmec, where the earliest seeds of symbolic writing may have first taken root. One of the most debated artifacts supporting this idea is the Cascadule block, discovered in territory once associated with the Olmec and dated to approximately 900 to 1000 BCE. Its surface bears repeated symbols arranged in what appears to be structured linear writing. Many scholars consider it a form of protoscript, possibly the earliest writing system in the Americas. Because it disrupts the accepted historical timeline, the Cascadule block is often excluded from mainstream narratives. But if it truly represents an ancestral form of Maya writing, then the history of written language in the Americas must be pushed back by at least 1,000 years. Writing, however, was only one dimension of Maya intellectual achievement. Their calendar system operated through 3 interlocking cycles: the 260-day ritual calendar known as the Tzolk'in, the 365-day solar calendar called the Harb, and the long count, a continuous tally of days beginning from the creation moment of the current world age. The astonishing reality is that the Harb calendar is accurate to within 0.002 days of the true solar year, surpassing the precision of modern civil calendars. Their astronomical knowledge extended far beyond the sun. They meticulously tracked Venus cycles, eclipses, planetary movements, and long-term celestial alignments, all without telescopes, star charts, or modern instruments. This level of precision suggests the Maya did not begin their observations from zero. Many researchers believe they inherited accumulated astronomical knowledge preserved across generations, possibly originating from a forgotten civilization that encoded its understanding of the cosmos into symbols, architecture, and sacred geometry. This is why Maya glyphs do more than record historical events. They chart the heavens. They express time not merely in days or months, but in cosmic pulses, the unseen rhythms governing existence itself. Surviving codices such as the Dresden Codex and Madrid Codex do not simply outline rituals or agricultural schedules. They predict eclipses, trace planetary cycles, and describe metaphysical moments linked to spans of time lasting thousands of years. This was not superstition. It was a holistic worldview, one in which time was cyclical rather than linear, binding humans, gods, nature, and stars into a single synchronized system. Somewhere in deep antiquity, an unknown observer gazed upward, recognized meaning in celestial motion, and decided to engrave that meaning into stone, bark paper, and temple walls. We do not know their name. We have no portrait of their face, but their imprint is everywhere. It appears in how the Maya recorded days and festivals, in how they aligned temples to Venus, in their belief that the world does not end but transforms. Their script and calendar were not merely intellectual tools. They were vessels of collective memory, sacred mechanisms designed to preserve time as something divine rather than fleeting. Beneath the surface of Maya civilization lies something even more enigmatic: hidden structures beneath the earth itself. Caves, tunnels, and sealed doorways leading downward into darkness. For the Maya, the underworld was not a place of death alone. It was a sacred passage connecting the living world, the heavens, and Xibalba, the realm of spirits and ancient gods. Directly beneath some of their most sacred structures, including El Castillo at Chichen Itza and temples at Palenque and Calakmul, archaeologists have uncovered entrances to underground systems long concealed. For decades, Maya pyramids were thought to serve purely ceremonial or astronomical purposes. But ground-penetrating radar and underwater exploration have revealed something far more deliberate. Beneath many pyramids lie natural sinkholes, limestone caverns, and water chambers known as cenotes, intentionally integrated into architectural design. This was no coincidence. Builders appeared to know exactly where caves formed and aligned temple axes directly above them, creating a cosmic axis where ritual, astronomy, and myth converged. One of the most startling discoveries occurred beneath El Castillo at Chichen Itza. Researchers uncovered a submerged limestone cave, a collapsed chamber filled with water. To the Maya, this was not a geological accident. It was believed to be an entrance to Xibalba. Three-dimensional scans revealed that the pyramid had been intentionally constructed atop a sacred geological convergence point, a deliberate choice marking the axis mundi, the pillar linking heaven, earth, and the underworld. Chichen Itza was not unique. At Palenque, excavations beneath the Temple of the Inscriptions revealed hidden cave systems. Beneath the sarcophagus of King Pakal, a carved channel runs through the floor, possibly symbolizing the soul's journey to the other world. The lid of Pakal's tomb depicts him reclined amid celestial symbols, often dismissed as metaphor, yet persistently suggesting something deeper. Indigenous scholars argue these caves were not symbolic abstractions. They were actual repositories of ancestral presence and sacred knowledge, restricted to initiates sworn to preserve cosmic memory. These passageways were not random. They were engineered with precise orientation, acoustic design, and mathematical proportion. Some chambers amplify sound like a cathedral. Others narrow like the throat of a serpent deity or widen like the womb of the earth itself. Within these spaces, prayer did not simply echo. It resonated, vibrating through stone, water, and air, producing an experience that felt otherworldly, as though something beyond human voices was responding. Perhaps the true mystery is not how these spaces were built, but what was concealed within them. Were they meant for movement or for protection? Were their teachings never intended to return to daylight? Symbols reserved only for those willing to walk in darkness? And if so, why were these entrances sealed and forgotten? Standing in imagination beneath torchlight, surrounded by damp stone and ancient silence, one senses that the Maya did not build only upon the surface of the earth. They built within the spirit itself. Their structures were not displays of dominance, but messages too sacred for language, meant to be understood only in silence. From these depths we encounter another sacred form, the cenotes. To the Maya, these deep circular pools were not merely water sources. They were spiritual mirrors, portals between worlds. Still waters reflecting the sky, as though the heavens themselves had opened downward into the earth. Cenotes appear in extraordinary concentration across the Yucatan Peninsula, where underground rivers carve immense cave systems through limestone. Maya cities were often positioned deliberately near these sacred pools. Chichen Itza itself was defined by its proximity to the sacred cenote, one of the most important ritual sites in the Maya world. According to Maya tradition, cenotes were the mouths of Xibalba, gateways through which souls passed. During sacred ceremonies, offerings were cast into their depths: jade, gold, obsidian, ceramics, and sometimes human lives. Archaeological exploration has confirmed this, revealing human remains, many of them children, alongside ornate ritual objects. These were not perceived as acts of cruelty, but as gifts, offerings meant to maintain cosmic balance, summon rain, ensure fertility, and preserve harmony between worlds. What makes cenotes truly enigmatic is not only the rituals, but the spaces themselves. Deep, cold, impossibly still, some connected to cavern networks never touched by light. Some lead directly beneath pyramids, suggesting they were not only symbolic but structural anchors linking worlds above and below. At sites such as Halton Cenote and Zabalchan, archaeologists uncovered carved platforms, columns, effigies, and inscribed stone masks. These were not wells. They were sanctuaries. Some theories suggest the Maya selected cenotes for their acoustic properties, where voices projected across water created delayed echoes, forming immersive soundscapes similar to those found at Tiwanaku or within European stone chambers. Modern science labels cenotes as geological formations. Yet Maya descendants still gather at their edges today, lighting incense and casting marigold petals into the water. Some truths are not meant to be proven. They are meant to be remembered. From these silent waters, we journey northward into central Mexico, where another immense mystery rises from the valley floor: Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. What makes these structures truly astonishing is not their sheer scale, but their extraordinary accuracy. The buildings are positioned with flawless alignment to the rising and setting sun during solstices and equinoxes. Openings such as windows, doorways, and corridors were intentionally engineered so that sunlight would illuminate precise interior points only on those transitional days, transforming architecture into a living solar calendar carved from stone. High atop a narrow outcrop along the northwestern rim of the canyon stands one of the most remarkable ancient observatories ever identified, the Sun Dagger. There, 3 upright stone slabs frame a spiral etched directly into the cliff face. At midday on the summer solstice, a blade-thin shaft of sunlight slices cleanly through the spiral center. During the winter solstice, 2 parallel beams flank its edges. And on the spring and autumn equinoxes, Light gently traces the spiral's outer rim with exact precision. This is not decoration. It is the deliberate manipulation of light, shadow, and time within three-dimensional space. These people possessed no telescopes, no mechanical clocks, no written star charts. What they had instead was intuition refined through observation, memory passed down through generations, and a celestial understanding that endured far longer than ink ever could. Further research revealed that the entire architectural network of Chaka Canyon, its great houses, ceremonial kivas, and even its roads, is deeply synchronized with cosmic movement. Some pathways align with the 18.6-year lunar cycle, known as the Major Lunar Standstill, an astronomical event so subtle that even modern scientists require decades of data to confirm it. Was this coincidence? Or did the ancient Puebloans observe the sky patiently across centuries, encoding what they learned into stone, space, and orientation? Even more intriguing is the fact that Chaka was never a city in the conventional sense. Despite the monumental scale of its great houses, the number of permanent residents was surprisingly small. Most people lived in surrounding villages and traveled to Chaka only for ceremonial gatherings. Archaeological evidence suggests Chaka functioned as a sacred convergence point rather than a population center, a ritual hub, a place of cosmic instruction. Less a metropolis and more a library of silence, where knowledge was recorded through geometry rather than words. Then there are the roads. Vast, wide, and unnervingly straight. Some extend for dozens, even hundreds, of miles. They cut across hills, plateaus, and cliffs with no regard for convenience or terrain. These roads were not engineered for efficiency. They were designed for meaning. They appear to form symbolic axes, linking sacred locations into a vast web connecting time, space, and ritual movement. To this day, many Pueblo peoples regard Chaka as sacred ground. They do not see ruins. They see memory. They believe their ancestors listened to the language of land and sky and recorded those conversations not in text, but in stone, shadow, alignment, and silence. Chaka offers the modern world a humbling reminder. There was once a time when humanity lived in rhythm with celestial cycles. Knowledge did not always arrive through books. Sometimes it existed in the way sunlight touched a wall once each year, in the angle of a doorway, in the pause between solstices. As we step away from Chaka Canyon, the question is no longer who built it. The deeper question is how we forgot that we, too, once knew how to read the universe through light and form. From here, we journey southward into the depths of the Amazon rainforest, where legends of a lost city of gold have never fully vanished. Could it be that beneath the dense canopy lies another forgotten civilization, not erased by time, but dismissed by modern assumptions? The city of El Dorado may still be waiting. The legend of El Dorado did not begin as a fantasy of golden streets. It began with a real ceremony on the waters of Lake Guadavita in present-day Colombia. There, the leader of the Muisca people was coated in gold dust and paddled to the center of the lake, where offerings were cast into the depths. This ritual, symbolic and profound, ignited the imagination of 16th century Europeans. Over time, the image of a gilded man transformed into something far more extravagant, an entire city of gold, then an empire. One no one had seen, but many were willing to die seeking. Spanish, Portuguese, English, and German expeditions poured into the Amazon like moths drawn to flame. Among them, none became more legendary than Percy Fawcett, the British explorer convinced that deep within the Brazilian jungle lay an ancient metropolis he called Zed, a civilization of advanced architecture, complex social systems, and forgotten wisdom. Drawing upon old manuscripts, indigenous testimony, and a deep personal conviction, Fawcett led multiple expeditions. In 1925, he and his son vanished without a trace. What they left behind was not proof, but a haunting suggestion. The Amazon was not empty wilderness, but a forest concealing something far more intricate than anyone had acknowledged. Nearly a century later, modern technology has begun to suggest that Fawcett may not have been wrong. Using LiDAR, a laser-based scanning system capable of penetrating dense vegetation, researchers uncovered what the naked eye could never detect. Beneath the canopy lies a vast network of geometric layouts, grids of roads, ceremonial plazas, circular earthworks, canals, irrigation systems, and earthen pyramids spread across the Amazon basin. These discoveries overturn long-standing assumptions. The Amazon, once portrayed as untouched wilderness, now appears to be a carefully managed landscape, an engineered ecosystem shaped by human intelligence over thousands of years. Evidence suggests that millions of people once lived here before European contact. Their settlements were connected by waterways and roads. Their agriculture relied not on destructive slash-and-burn methods, but on terra preta, a human-created fertile soil that remains unmatched by modern science. These societies were not isolated hunter-gatherers. They were ecological engineers who built forest cities that thrived in collaboration with the jungle rather than in opposition to it. Perhaps these civilizations, cities formed of soil, water, and trees rather than stone and gold, were the true El Dorado. A city Europeans never recognized because they were trained to search for walls, towers, and treasure. They missed a civilization where power flowed through irrigation instead of conquest, where architecture blended into the forest rather than dominating it. In this sense, El Dorado is not a place. It is a misunderstanding, a reflection of how civilization has been narrowly defined. Today, as deforestation accelerates, these rediscovered sites face destruction once again, not from myth or greed, but from machines and indifference. El Dorado slips away yet again, not because it was imaginary, but because we still struggle to see history differently. LODAR surveys have now revealed hundreds of geometric earthworks across Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru. Circles, squares, octagons connected by long straight avenues and canals. These structures required coordinated labor, social hierarchy, and cosmological planning. In Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos, archaeologists uncovered massive agricultural systems of raised fields and drainage canals designed to withstand seasonal flooding. What appeared to be swamp was in fact a highly productive farming network. These people shaped the forest to cooperate with human life. They guided rivers rather than damming them. They enhanced biodiversity rather than destroying it. They created terra preta, soil enriched with charcoal and organic matter that can retain nutrients for centuries. Even today, scientists struggle to reproduce it. At sites such as Kuhikugu, entire urban layouts have been mapped, defensive walls, ceremonial centers, causeways, and planned neighborhoods. These findings dismantle the myth of primitive forest tribes. These were city builders. Their disappearance was not voluntary. When Europeans arrived, disease, violence, and collapse followed. Epidemics erased entire populations. Cities were abandoned. The jungle reclaimed what remained. By the time later explorers arrived, there were few left to remember. But memory is rising again. From the forest floor, from river bends, from faint outlines revealed by laser scans, history is resurfacing. And if the Amazon once held cities, its echoes extend beyond the jungle, into deserts, mountains, and stone. Across the arid plains of southern Peru, another mystery unfolds, Nazca. From the ground, the desert appears barren. But from the sky, vast straight lines stretch for miles, intersecting hills and valleys with impossible precision. Among them lie enormous figures, a hummingbird, a monkey, a spider, a human, a spiral hand, etched by removing dark gravel to expose pale earth beneath. These geoglyphs, created by the Nazca culture between roughly 200 BCE and 600 CE, cannot be fully seen from the ground. Some span hundreds of feet. How did a people without aircraft create images only visible from above? Some suggest ritual pathways. Others point to astronomical alignments. Many lines correspond with solstices, water sources, or celestial events. The desert's extreme dryness preserved them, turning the land itself into an open manuscript. Nazca resists categorization. It is art, astronomy, ritual, and geography fused into one. A worldview that did not separate science from spirituality. It did not require explanation, only connection. From Nazca, we turn west toward the Andes and the stone mastery of the Inca. High among cloud-draped peaks, Inca walls still stand, stones fit so perfectly that even a blade cannot pass between them. No mortar, no steel, just intuition refined into architecture. At Sacsayhuaman, stones weighing over 120 tons interlock like living puzzle pieces, absorbing earthquakes through curved design. The Inca built roads spanning over 25,000 miles, rope bridges of woven grass, and water systems that still function today. At Ollantaytambo and Taipan, terraces and canals form sustainable microclimates. And at Machu Picchu, stone, light, and water align in perfect harmony. The Inca likely inherited this knowledge, and perhaps its deepest roots lie at Lake Titicaca. Beneath its waters, submerged structures have been discovered. Walls, staircases, courtyards, possibly remnants of Tiwanaku or something older. To ancient peoples, the lake was a cosmic birthplace, a threshold between worlds. And finally, memory appears again, not in stone, but in thread. The quipu, knotted cords encoding numbers, history, and perhaps stories, functioned as a tactile language. Read by touch, interpreted through rhythm and pattern, quipu may represent one of the most unique information systems ever devised. And beyond memory, there are maps. Maps too accurate to ignore. Maps that suggest the Americas were known long before Columbus. The Piri Race map, the Vinland map, the Kangato map, fragments of a lost global knowledge. History may not begin where textbooks say it does. Sometimes it waits quietly, in stone, soil, thread, and lines drawn across the earth, until someone remembers how to look. What they left behind in the soil, in stone, and within indigenous memory still murmurs a story of passage. A journey driven not by domination, but by bold curiosity and endurance. That story is no longer confined to legend. At the northernmost edge of Newfoundland, Canada, lies a site known as Lance Auxiliary Meadows. In the 1960s, archaeologists uncovered the remnants of an ancient European settlement embedded in the earth. The remains of turf structures, ironworking debris, and unmistakably Norse artifacts told an undeniable story. This was a Viking encampment dating to the late 10th century. The blacksmithing evidence, the construction techniques, and even the wood used all closely matched Viking settlements previously found in Greenland and Iceland. Today, there is no serious doubt that Vikings lived, labored, and built on North American land, even if their stay was brief. The origins of this voyage live within the Norse sagas, epic narratives preserved through Icelandic oral tradition. According to the Saga of Eric the Red and the Saga of the Greenlanders, Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, sailed westward from Greenland and reached a fertile land he named Vinland, inspired by the wild grapes said to grow there. These accounts describe lush terrain, plentiful resources, and encounters with indigenous peoples the Norse referred to as Skraelings. For generations, historians dismissed the Vinland sagas as exaggerated myth, heroic tales designed to elevate Norse valor. That dismissal ended with the discovery at Lance Auxiliary Meadows. Not only did it confirm Viking presence in the Americas, it hinted they may have ventured even farther. Some of the timber uncovered at the site originated from regions farther south, areas where tree species absent from Greenland naturally grow. This suggests the Norse traveled inland or moved extensively along the coastline. Vinland may not have been a lone outpost, but part of a wider exploratory network. So why did the Vikings leave? According to the sagas, tensions with local populations, the immense distance from their homelands, and the isolation of the settlement made long-term survival untenable. Perhaps conquest was never their goal. They arrived, explored, tested the edges of the unknown, and when those boundaries pushed back, they withdrew. What remained were fragments of memory carried away by northern winds. Notably, Vinland never appeared on medieval European maps. Leif Erikson's journey did not reshape global history the way Columbus's voyage would centuries later. The Vikings brought no empire with them. They founded no lasting colonies. They did not carve their legacy through conquest or bloodshed. Their history was written in timber, fire, and quiet movement across unfamiliar ground. Then, slowly, it faded from collective memory. Today, as archaeologists recover corroded nails, carved wooden pins, and pieces of ancient verse, a quieter truth begins to surface. History does not move in straight lines. It weaves itself into a tangled pattern where forgotten journeys may have shaped humanity long before continents were formally named. If the Vikings reached North America, perhaps they were not alone. Perhaps other crossings occurred, other encounters unfolded and vanished into shadow. So when shards of Asian pottery appear along the California coast, or statues bearing African-like features emerge in South America and are dismissed as coincidence, a different question arises. What if these are echoes of contact, traces of cultural exchange that history simply made no room for? If intercontinental contact existed before Columbus, then what we call the discovery of the Americas was not a beginning, but a continuation. The so-called out-of-place artifacts, those that refuse to align with official timelines, may be the last surviving evidence of ancient migrations, forgotten trade networks, or old-world explorers written out of the Western narrative. Not because they never existed, but because belief lagged behind possibility. We now stand at a threshold where scattered fragments of the past may finally align into a broader picture. The question is no longer whether ancient people could cross oceans. It is who did, when they did it, and why their stories were lost. Across museums, archives, and archaeological sites worldwide, artifacts remain whose significance has yet to be recognized. Stones etched with unfamiliar markings, metal alloys that defy their assigned era, artistic styles that seem foreign to their surroundings. Each one is a whisper, a fragment of a larger story. If we are willing to listen, a realization emerges. Human history was never a straight ascent of progress. It was a complex tapestry, overlapping, intersecting, and far more intricate than we were taught to believe. I hope you had a good time and have a good night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next episode.